market, they know how to advertise. Do you want fries with that? All that sort of stuff. So, you know, I'm not saying for a moment you don't want a good product. Of course you do. Disneyland has good product and good marketing. Universal Studios has good marketing, okay? And, you know, I'm being silly because Universal Studios is still good, but compared to Disneyland, it's not. So what I'm saying to you is that you want to make sure, no matter how good or bad your service or product is, that you are actually a good marketer. And if you're not, just saddle up to someone who has a system that gives you that on a platter. And I don't know who that could be. I'm trying to think. Anyway, we'll see if we can find someone for it. Okay, so therefore, why don't we kick off? This particular system that I've developed over the years is a direct response system. Now, you know, direct response marketing has been out there since Adam was a boy. I'm not claiming any ownership of that. You've all seen the morning commercials, and you've all seen, you know, Kerry-Ann Kennelly ads and the ab swings and the weight loss programs and all that sort of stuff. So you've seen how direct response works. But I think where we make it quite different is the pixie dust that we put on top of it. And I call it wow factor. So, you know, the name of our business is the Institute of Wow, and it's all about making sure that when somebody sees your ad or your offer, their natural reaction is wow, okay? And it's really, really simple. It means that when you put your ads together, I know this sounds ridiculously simple, but when you put your Facebook ads together or you put together your brochures, whatever it might be, you don't dare spend a cent on it unless you show it to your husband or wife or to someone who works for you and see whether or not they go, wow. If they don't go, wow, don't do it. That's just it. And I'm sure McDonald's do that when they actually have, I don't know, they bring out the Hawaiian burger, which is just a normal burger, but a piece of pineapple on it, and they would, you know, make sure the artwork looks pretty schmick, and they would ask someone, what's your thoughts on this? And I'm sure that they'd be looking for a wow. And nobody does that. Everybody just puts 10% off in their ads and wonder why that doesn't work. Who thinks that it would be really wonderful, no matter whether you sell to people or whether you sell to businesses, if you could actually have a business whereby you never sold on price? In other words, when I say sold on price, we all sell on price, but you didn't market price as being, you know, your first port of call when you're advertising. You'd like to do that, yeah. Well, what this system is allowing you to hopefully get near that. You see, the thing is that if you're selling on price, then you know it's a race to the bottom. If you had a hardware store at the moment, do you think that there's a chance in the world that you're going to beat Bunnings on price? Not a chance. And the fact is that there are no Bunnings in this room. There's no Coca-Colas in this room. Myself and all of you guys, we're what we call a challenger brand. We're not the Coca-Cola of our industry. It doesn't matter whether you're into physiotherapy or whether you're into retail or whether you're into lawn mowing. The fact is that you're probably not Jim's lawn mowing service. You're probably a one-man band, or you've got 3 or 4 others, and you can't take the big 40-ton gorilla on price. And yet guess what most businesses do, because they're suffering from dickheaditis? They keep on advertising on price, 10% off, 20% off. Do you reckon Bunnings are going to let you win? If your wheelbarrow at your hardware store does not light up in the dark, you're in deep shit. Because unless it's a different wheelbarrow, you're not going to beat them on price. Because even Bunnings come on TV and say that find someone who's cheaper than us and we'll beat it by 10%. So why would you go into battle with them? So what you need to do, if you're a hardware store, is make sure that your wheelbarrow comes with a free shovel. They'll never do that because that's where they're dickheads, okay? Because they've got a head office, you know, mentality whereby we'll have to have a committee meeting about that maybe next year. Then we'll go through another committee and another committee. You're quick. You can do that sort of stuff. And you can say, buy a wheelbarrow from me and you get a free shovel or free delivery or whatever it might be. It's called the Happy Meal toy principle. And you're looking at someone who's got 6 kids, and they're all adults now, but when we had 6 under 12, McDonald's with their Happy Meals got $6.4 billion out of us, okay? And I could not tell you what the price of a Happy Meal is. I had no clue. I don't know what a Happy Meal is. It kept the 6 little bastards in the back of the car quiet, okay? And guess what? They never ate the hamburger. They just played with the toy. The hamburger went out the window. And I'm sure there's plenty of parents and grandparents in the room here today who know exactly that's the case. So you've got to take their eye off the price, not on the price. And I'll give you another example, a hairdressing salon. If they were to put a 10% off sign outside their door today, do you think that women would be busting down the door to get in? The answer is no. 10%. Groupon gives 50. In the world of Groupon and Scoopon and Kudo, why would you give out 10? And so therefore, let's work out how she could actually do something better. Let's transfer that 10% into what I call a wow factor value add. In other words, into a Happy Meal toy. So we say for that hairdressing salon, look, for every $50 you spend with me, I'm going to give you a movie point, a picture theatre movie point. And when you save 6 picture theatre movie points, we're going to give you 2 tickets to the movie. Now 6 times $50 is $300. So 6 points, she'll get over $300. We're going to give them 2 $15 movie tickets, and 2 $15 movie tickets will cost the hairdressing salon how much in total? And how much of that $30 is what percentage of the 300? 10%. Who thinks the movie tickets will be 10% every day of the week? Because the fact is, when Mrs. Smith has got 4 points, she ain't going to get her haircut anywhere else. She's only got 2 points to go till she gets her 2 movie tickets. Now, I'm just using movie tickets as an example. It could be anything. It could be car washes. It could be all sorts of things, right? And the reason I do tend to go down the gold class, not that they would be $15, but I go down the movie ticket path, is because it's one of those giveaways that suits both sexes and all ages. So if you've got a business that actually has a wide demographic audience of men and women of certain ages, and you're looking for some sort of reward for them, then look for something that is going to be appealing to both sexes and all ages. Because if you actually give out nightclub tickets and your audience are, in walking frames, I don't think they're going to be too turned on by that. Oh, that'll be lovely, we'll go. Okay, so who would like to see? Now I've built up the whole crescendo on this platform or idea that I've got, or system. Who would like to see that system? No, see, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Keep in mind, you're here without having to pay, so therefore I'm going to have to. My ego is not big enough at the moment. It needs to be bigger. My crew down the back are going, no, it's plenty big enough. You are a terrible show-off. So I'm thinking something like, my name is John Dwyer, but I don't get John, I get JD, okay? And dickhead, by the way, so therefore if you hear anyone refer to me as dickhead, you'll know it's still me. So I think probably the response that I would need in order to throw this system up on the screen here for you would be probably something like, shit yeah JD, but really loud, okay? Who wants to see this system? Shit yeah! Good, okay. And mind the language too, I told you, this is a politically correct event. Okie dokie. Houston, we have a problem with, this is not, is it on? Okay. First of all, before we start, I just wanted to highlight to you this hotel. Blew me away last night. We've stopped at this hotel last night and tonight, and I live on the Gold Coast, so we came down for the event, and I grew up in Sydney, so I know Sydney like the back of my hand. And when we checked in, about 5 minutes after we checked in, there's a bang, bang, bang at the door. And I opened the door, and the young lady was in a uniform, and she just said on a silver platter, look, I just... thinks that's like a wow factor that would incentivise me to come back here again. Well, that's bullshit. That never happened, okay? Because this hotel is run by morons, okay? As most hotels are throughout the world, because they wouldn't think of that, because that would cost them, I don't know, maybe $1.80. And we can't do that. We would have to put our room rate up from $300 to $301.80. No, you wouldn't. You'd just take a bath on $1.80, you dickhead. And so therefore, that's not going to happen to anybody in any hotel around the world. That will not happen, okay? And the crazy part about it is that it should be happening. It should be doing that all the time. You should be getting that sort of wow factor at every hotel, but no one will do it. Who thinks that if that did happen, every time I came to Sydney, that price would go out the window? I'd just say to Jodie, who works for me, book me into the Chocolate Strawberry Hotel. Okay? Yeah, well, thank you for where that came from. See, we're getting such little response from the room, we have to manufacture the response, the canned laughter thing. I can't read whatever you're putting up. Anyway, sorry. Hi to Facebook Live. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Someone writes in pencil. We've got an IQ problem with my team, but someone writes in pencil and waves it like that, and I'm saying, I'm not 21, I don't have 20/20 vision. But people on Facebook Live, welcome. I know we had some technical problems, as usual. It just follows me around. You know what? I've got a 20-year-old son who's, our kids range from 20 through to 30ish. And the youngest is 20, and he wants to become Steven Spielberg. He wants to, basically make movies and this, that, and the other. I said, good, make a movie on me and get Jim Carrey or someone to play the role, and it's called Mr. Freaking Unlucky. And I bet you can all relate to this. Have you ever been on the window seat in a plane? It's a 3-hour flight, and it's a nighttime flight, so you don't want to wake up the poor people next to you, but you do want to go to the toilet. You want to go to the restaurant. And because you're well-mannered like I am, you think, well, cross my legs and I'll just hang in there till we get to Melbourne Airport from the Gold Coast. And so therefore you get to Melbourne Airport, you race towards the toilets, it's about 11 o'clock at night, and you know that there's going to be that little yellow sandwich board outside that says cleaner in progress, and it's always a woman. I don't know whether they'd ever let men into a ladies' toilet to clean, but they let women in there all the time. You can be there half the time like this, and she's just wandering past you. Right? Well, you don't turn around, but you're just walking past you. And so therefore you run to the next restroom, the same sign outside. Not that we go to McDonald's too often these days, I guess, but I go into McDonald's, there'd be a queue like a mile long, and then there's one guy on the other queue. Well, these people are stupid. Obviously, I'll just stand behind him. He's ordering for 2 tour buses, 104 Big Macs. Why didn't I pick that line? Does it happen to you? What do you do this, that when you're in a car park of a shopping centre, you pull up to the area where there is just no one, because I don't like to be around people. I should have said that. And so therefore, I'll just park where there's nobody. Some idiot will pull up next to you and bash the door car. Unbelievable. You want to just talk about that shit instead of this marketing stuff? Okay, so that never happened, but it should happen. I mean, the thing is that nobody does this value add stuff. We do have a problem with this clicker. It's not working, so again, a technical problem. Give me a second.
John, can somebody watch this now on Facebook Live?
Yes.
Can I just?
Yeah, please. Yeah, please, mate. Yeah, so if you've got any friends that you might feel that would like all of this really good shit, they just go to, one of my team will tell me, where do they go to? The Institute of Wow Facebook page, okay?
It's actually working because my brother said, good to see you now. He said, Mick, can you sit up straight?
Can you sit up straight, yeah. Whoever's watching this, Phil is just slouching back, which we're bringing in some physiotherapists later to help everybody, yeah. Okay, so therefore, let me highlight to you that this is what this is all about. This system is all about attracting people into your world, and then it's all about converting them, and then it's all about keeping them. So it's great to have a client once, isn't it? But you don't want them just once, you want them to... I've done a lot of work with McDonald's over the years, and have you noticed that when McDonald's have one of their promotions with the Happy Meal toy, and they will be having one, I'm sure, with Coca-Cola glasses coming up with the Commonwealth Games, where you collect the different Coca-Cola colours, you know. Have you noticed that you have to collect 4, collect 6, so they get you to come back and back and back, okay? I've done all the big scratch bingo games for the newspapers over the years, and you know that, you know, you have to get the 6 numbers or 10 numbers, whatever it might be, out of today's paper, and then you've got to buy tomorrow's paper to get the next one, and then the next one, and so forth. It's called repetitive spending. And the best repetitive trade that you can possibly get if you're in the service industry, who's in the service industry like me, where you're actually giving advice, you might be an accountant, a lawyer, whatever it might be, yeah. And who in that industry at the moment has what we call an MRR, okay? That's called monthly recurring revenue. Anybody has that at the moment? Okay, well, if you don't swap your whole thing to it straight away. You know, we have accountants on board and we tend to revolutionise their business. When I say on board, obviously, you know what I'm going to flog here today is a coaching program. So therefore, and don't be worried, we're talking hundreds of dollars a month, we're not talking gazillions. But the thing is that we do help service-based industries change their revenue model pretty quickly, because it's something that I've learned over the last half a dozen years, is that if you are in the advisory game, which I am, you are crazy if you don't have a system which is a monthly recurring revenue. And the reason very simple for that is that I can give a business an idea. I'm not saying I can promise it'll happen every time, in 5 minutes, and they can walk away and make, who knows, gazillions out of it. And if I get an hourly rate of $100 or $200 for that hour, or $500, whatever it might be, $1,000 for that hour, that's not fair. And I'll give you a classic example. There was an aluminium fence manufacturer in Gosford, and he wanted to sell aluminium fences to 30, 40-year-old homes. Why do you think he'd probably be targeting older homes if he's got a brand new aluminium fence to sell? Why do you think he'd be targeting older homes? Because they have old wooden paling fences that are falling down. And he was putting out letterbox brochures and doing Facebook and all that sort of stuff. It was just bad, bad, bad. I mean, his letterbox brochures were one-sided, which is a cardinal sin. That'd be like running a 30-second TV commercial with 15 seconds blank screen. I mean, that was just nuts. And when I said to him, why would you do that, dickhead? And he said, oh, because of the cost. It goes from 5 cents to 6 cents to print the other side. So my advice when someone like that comes on board is say, just go and get a job, okay? Please, go away. You're embarrassing other business owners. And so anyway, what happened is that I said to him, well, I think we can fix this for you. So what we did is that we ran a Facebook campaign only in Gosford, and because of the lookalike audience, you know, facility that we have with Facebook, we only put it in front of people in the postcodes that had older homes, and we showed an old falling down back fence, paling fence, and we called it the ugliest back fence in Australia contest. And we said, just take a photo of your ugly, decrepit back fence and post it to our Facebook page, and you're in the chance to win a $5,000 aluminium fence makeover that cost him $1,000. We had to turn it off in 3 days. In 3 days, he had 2 years worth of leads. Wow. We just flushed out all of the people with bad fences. So if I give that to him for an hourly rate, do you reckon that he's getting a pretty good deal? No, I'm not going to do that, okay? So we have like bundles of that shit that we've tested and tested and tested. We've probably done more testing online and offline than all the people in the room put together here, and we sort of know what works. So when you come up to us with an ad and you say to us, "Look, what do you think about this?" I'll just go, awful, and then we'll pull one out and give that to you, okay? So the thing is that what we're into is predictive marketing, not just throwing money up against the wall. And you'll find that all of this stuff you're about to see, I know I'm giving it a big build-up before I put the slide up, but what you're going to see here is stuff that's measurable. So you will know when you spend your money on Facebook today whether or not it works tomorrow. You will know if you put out a letterbox today, brochure, whether it works tomorrow. You'll know if you put an SMS campaign out whether it works tomorrow. Whereas at the moment, you've probably been told over the years by, idiot advertising so-called experts, you've got to get your brand, 2 words, starts with out there, you've got to get brand out. No, you've got to get their name in here. So flip that entire model. Because if you were McDonald's or Coca-Cola or Toyota or Nike, of course get your brand out there. You've got money to waste, okay? But the fact of the matter is that what you should be doing, particularly in the information world, is not worrying about getting your brand out there. Of course you do. I mean, you want to do it. I'm not saying that I don't buy Kellogg's because it's Kellogg's. Of course we do. But anybody here got Kellogg's budget? No. So therefore what you should be doing is flip that whole model of getting their name in here and building a brand at the same time. They shouldn't be mutually exclusive, because that whole thing, build the church and they will come, that's for bigger businesses than I'm sure you guys are. And my sweet spot for the coaching program that we have is somewhere between a startup that might be doing, a couple of $100,000 in their first year, through to about 15 or 20 million. That's about the turnover. And you might say, well, 15 or 20 million is a much bigger business than that, and it is, but that's about the sweet spot that we have in our coaching program, because those guys can't afford to sponsor the Brisbane Broncos, they can't afford to sponsor the Olympics, they can't do any of that sort of stuff. What they want is put food on the table tomorrow night, and that's what direct response marketing is all about. Because the thing is that most of that other stuff is bullshit anyway. It's just crap. Anybody here in this room ever bought anything off the side of a bus? I can't see a hand. Anybody in this room ever bought anything off an ad off the back of a taxi? No hands. Has anybody been doing 110 down the freeway and see a bloody hair shampoo ad on the big billboard and go, I better back and have a look at that? No. Has anybody ever freeze-framed your TV screen when you're watching the NRL or the AFL because you wanted to watch the electronic signage that's going around the fence? Okay, because there's lots of ads there. I can't get anyone to tell me just 2 minutes after the game who the hell was on the electronic signs on the fence. But there will be millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars pissed up against the wall. And who do you think's to blame? Gen Ys. Now anyone who's under 30 hates me, okay, in the room. The irony is that most of the bigger businesses in Australia have a marketing manager who's under 30 or certainly under 35. They haven't made enough mistakes yet. And they've been told, get the brand out there and they will come, or get them to fall in love with your brand and then they'll taste your product. Well, no, you better have deep pockets, because we flip that and get them to taste your product so they'll fall in love with your brand, okay? Who thinks the latter for them would probably make more sense? Taste your product or your service, okay? What do you think I'm doing here today? It's a taste testing. I'm just handing calamari outside the fish shop. Whereas if I'd sponsored the latest Qantas magazine and just put my ugly face up there and said, oh, the Institute of Wow, they know what to do, or we love you, or something like, I don't think I'd make any money. And that's what continually a lot of these businesses are doing. And I'm only joking about the Gen Y thing. There's a lot of dickheads out there my age that are wasting this money too. But the reason I do pick on them is because there's a lot of, social media influence with the younger set, because they'll say, oh, well, it's all about getting your name out there, and that's why we would spend, like Kia, please. Did anybody want to go out and buy a Kia the day after the Australian Open? No. You see, the thing is, I know what happened with the Ford Australian Open. The reason the Ford Australian Open became the Kia Australian Open is because the Ford guy who was responsible for sponsoring the tennis for about 10 years left, and the new person that came in said, did we sell any more cars because we've been sponsoring the Australian? And they went, oh, we don't know, but we're getting our brand out there. And the new guy said, we're Ford. Do you think we really needed to get our name out there? I don't think so. Did we sell any more cars? And of course the morons that were responsible for that went, can't really measure that. So get out of here. So they stopped doing it. But then, obviously, there's someone suffering from that severe disease working at Kia, because they decided to sponsor them for the next 5 years. And I'm guaranteeing you that there will not be one single possible measuring tool that will tell them whether they're making a cent out of that. They will just sit there and watch themselves on TV at the end of the Kia Australian Open and go, oh, wasn't that good? We got our name out there like they needed to. Just nutso, crazy, crazy stuff. Okay, can you help anyone that comes in? Maybe find a seat if you don't mind. Yeah, no. Okay, so therefore, to attract, what you need to do is that, you need to, in my mind anyway, create a wow factor, take their eyes off the price, okay? So you replace discounts with a wow bonus. And what you have to do in this direct response world is have a time limitation. So what I'm going to do for you today, just in a couple of hours' time before we break for lunch, is that I'm going to make an offer. I'm going to show you guys that if you like what you saw throughout the morning, you can get me to become your quasi-marketing manager. And I will give you an offer which I think will be too good to be true, but it's available for today. If you go away and say, oh, I've got to speak to my husband and wife and this, that and the other, and you are what we call a fence sitter, that's fine, you'll just pay the full tariff tomorrow, because we only do this at seminars. Why do you think I do that time limitation? Anybody want to take a stab for $1 million?
Get our money quicker.
Get your money quicker, that's one way, but also because it ensures that you are rewarding people, A, for taking off the number of hours and coming to these sorts of things. So you've got to, you're nutso if you don't reward them, so that's crazy. So just watch what I do, because you should do it. But secondly, the thing is that if people leave today and got to go and talk to their husband or wife or their puppy dog or whatever it might be, the chances of them actually then signing up and doing something are less than 50%. That's not good odds, okay? So therefore, if you're going to run one of these sorts of things, and your version of it could be a tapas dinner, then you give a reward to them for actually coming, but make sure that the offer is very strictly for that day and that day only, okay? So time limitation or quantity limitation. I have a private coaching program. You won't hear much about that today, but there's a few people that pay me $2,500 a month, and for me, for $30,000 a year, they get me as their marketing guy. They get unlimited access to me. Then I take over their entire marketing and just do it. And if you look at your secretary in the office at the moment, if you're that size business, you're probably paying her at the front desk $40,000, $50,000. And I know if I was sitting in your chair, which one would probably bring the best ROI, and I don't cost anywhere near like her. Now, in that instance, I have a quantity limitation. I can only take on 50 of those clients. And what happens is that when at the end of the 12 months someone leaves, if they do, sometimes they stick around, but probably 60, 70% of them leave after 12 months because they get this, they know how to do it. Then what they do is that they leave, and guess what, if I've got 47 in the club and I've got a 50 max, what do you think I do to fill the other 3? I hold another one of these. That's all I do. So I'm continually topping the funnel all the time. And you can do the maths, 50 by 30, there's 1.5. So therefore that's what the private coaching thing is. My profitable program is the one that I'll show you today, which is one where you still get me, it's just that you don't have unlimited access to me. Okay, so therefore time or quantity limitation. In terms of converting people, basically what you want to do is have a system. You do not want to be doing this onesie twosies. You want to have an automated system, and that means that when you are driving people into your landing page or into your website, you have a data capture facility, and that could be a free report, it could be a free video, it could be all sorts of things. And then once you get that, of course, you've got the chance to convert them because they've given you all their details. Did you notice that when you filled out the forms to be part of this, we did ask you everything but your blood group? Okay, so therefore I know pretty much all about your business already. I've been on to have a look at your websites if you had a website. And if you don't have a website, you should go and get a job. You should not be in business, okay? He says very sarcastically and hurtfully, because I'm sure there's some people in the room now go, he said, I've got to go and get a job now. I don't have a website because, I've been thinking about it for maybe 5 years, but I've just been busy. So the thing is that I've looked at all of that, and pretty much bar maybe 2 or 3 of you, you've all got disgusting, awful, shit-house websites, okay? So I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, you've got an ugly baby. Not many people enjoy doing that. I love it. So therefore, you have to fix your website. If you hang around with us, we can do it quickly. But even if you don't hang around with us, I'm going to show you today what you need on your homepage, and you've just got to go back home and just fix it, because it's just, most of your websites are just disgusting. And the thing is that it'd be like having an ugly receptionist, really. I mean, the director of first impressions for your business is no longer Susie who answers the phone. Your director of first impressions is your So why would you have an ugly website? And some of you are sitting there going, no, we don't have an ugly website, JD, ours is pretty. Yes, it is, it's pretty, but it will never sell anything. See, the last person in the world that you want to go to for a website design is a website designer. And the reason why is because they used to be a graphic artist, but now they've got a ponytail, black t-shirt and Doc Martens, and they charge you a fortune to come up with a freaking wireframe after 6 months, you know. Who's been really frustrated with their website designer because we can't get him off his ass? Yeah. So the thing is that we do websites normally in 2-3 weeks. Bang, finished, all gone. 5-6 page websites. And yes, they're done in the Philippines, but they're managed here by an Australian company, which means that when you ring up, you don't get that sound effect in the backyard that you do get when you ring the Philippines to a VA, and that sound effect is something like, bah, bah. Could you come in from the rice field? I've got some typing for you to do. You know? So therefore, you have to fix your website. That's the directory of first impressions, okay? And then if you're going to actually keep them, well, of course, once you've captured data, then you use that data effectively. Who at the moment probably, and be honest because God is watching, who is in that position where you've got a database, but you know you're really not following them up often enough? Who's got that? I think we all suffer from that. And look, you know, I have to be honest, it's funny when you're doing these things so often, there's every now and again, certainly not data follow-up, you guys know with your SMS messages and emails that you got from us that we're pretty good at that, but there's the odd thing from time to time I'll be up here, you know, rabbiting on about, and Jody, who you met outside this morning, will come up to me after the event and go, Jody, we haven't got that on our website. Shut up. Keep that between us. Yeah. So look, you know, I fall into the hypocrite basket every now and again too, but you know, the thing is that if we've got a database, we've got to be able to follow it up, but you've got to be able to follow it up on an automatic system. You don't want to be sending out individual emails. And some of you might be already doing this. We have a number of CRM programs. Who has Infusionsoft? Anybody in the room that has Infusionsoft? Okay. Who has something like Aweber or Ontraport? Anybody have those things? Yeah. So you're familiar with what we're talking about here is that I've got emails going out at 2 o'clock in the morning to people who live in America and England who have bought into our program, but I'm asleep. And they get an email because it looks like it's come directly from me, and it, you know, gives them the impression I care. Well, of course I care. So therefore that goes out, but I'm asleep, and that's what you want. You want to be able to have an automatic system like that. We'll show you how to do that. Okay. Oh, by the way, in order to keep people and get them to return and return, you've got to collect. Starts with D and it's 4 letters. You've got to collect data. Okay. So we all accept that makes sense, doesn't it? So therefore, why then would McDonald's, who are a pretty good marketer, let 1.7 million people come into their restaurants today in Australia and not have a clue who one of them was? I would sack their marketing manager in 2 seconds, like 2 seconds. He or she would be out the door and say, thank you very much. Go and play with the electronic billboards on the NRL games, okay? Because that would suit you. But it's not just McDonald's who are suffering from that. Guess what? You can walk into Bunnings, Woolworths, Coles, Baker's Delight, Michelle's Patisserie, go to any business you like today and they don't give a shit who you are. That is crazy. We have you coloured lanyarded into industry segments, so I know who's white collar, who's blue singlet. Notice we've segmented that. We know everything about you. I know what your wife and husband are doing at the moment. We've spoken to them and they're not real happy that you're wasting your day at this seminar, by the way. So it's all about getting that information and using it. It's just smart marketing, but nobody does it. I looked after the marketing for Parramatta Leagues Club for a lot of years, and as a consultant. And because, you know, at the end of the day at Parramatta Leagues Club, we want people who are going to gamble to come into that club. Do you think we favoured Asians and Arabs in terms of a lot of our marketing? Of course we did, because we knew if we got them into the club, that would make more money on the poker machines. I remember being in a meeting at that club and they said to me, oh, we're thinking about putting in a gymnasium. I said, are you mad? A gymnasium? How many people have you seen that want to wash money through the machines actually are fit? A gymnasium will attract an attractive young woman who brings her own water. No, we don't want her anywhere near the club. I haven't seen her, you know, doing exercising at the same time as doing that on a running machine, right? So it's all about identifying your most profitable target audience and then looking for more people who look like him. It's really, really simple. And the great thing about Facebook these days is that, oh my goodness, I mean, it's the most laser form of advertising, laser targeted form of advertising the world's ever seen. So if you want women who are 40 to 54 years of age and they drive, a Mercedes and they have an household income of 150 grand, they've got 2.3 children at teenage years and they're interested in tennis, you put all that into Facebook and your ad will only come up in front of them. Like, that is insane. And it's pay-per-click, it's paid on success. Gone are the days that you would put an ad in the paper and just pray to the Lord that someone who falls into that category will actually read the paper and then possibly read your ad. That's nutso, that's crazy. You can put your ad now in front of anyone you want, bang, like that, okay? Right, yeah, so therefore, oh, by the way, when we talk about people suffering from decaditis, do you know that the NRL Grand Final had 84,000 people at it? They have no clue who was there. Can you imagine the amount of caps and T-shirts they could have sold on the Monday morning, or Tuesday, whenever it was? But they're not the only ones. Like, when you get to severe decaditis, that's the AFL Grand Final, they had 102,000 people there. They have no clue who was there. Ticketing agencies do, but not the actual sport. And I can repeat this over and over and over and over again. I can give you online and offline businesses all around the world who are suffering from this disease. They're not collecting any data. If you had a dinner party tonight at home, do you think you'd know who was there? I think so. These guys are having a dinner party with 100,000 people. They have no clue who was there. But if you don't have a data capture facility on the homepage of your website, then you're suffering from the same thing. So be honest with me now, because again, God is watching, and I know we're all Catholics, and so therefore we have to tell the truth, okay? And if you don't, you go to confession on a Saturday and get rid of it. But who here has a data capture facility? Not one of these stupid little boxes that says, you want our free newsletter? No, I don't think so. But a real data capture facility. If I was a kitchen renovator, it would be, knowing full well, if I was a kitchen renovator, that most people who came to my website were interested in fixing their old kitchen, okay, I would probably say on there, free report, and I have a beautiful little ring binder report there, and it says the 3 biggest lies that most kitchen renovators tell you when quoting. Hint, hint, that's not really an Italian granite bench top. Comes from China. Okay? Now, if you're interested in a kitchen renovation, do you reckon you're going to download that in a heartbeat and give me your name, your mobile, and everything else? And then I can annoy you until you buy or die. But there's a very good chance I'm going to annoy you within the hour and you're going to fall off your kitchen seat, because that's screwed up too. It's a bad kitchen, right? So therefore you're going to go, how did you know I was in the market for a kitchen? The Lord gave me a message. And so I'm ringing you right now. Who has one of those free reports on their homepage? Okay, so therefore I'm not going to bring up that disease again. You make up your own mind. But you are letting all of these people come to your website, your dinner party, and you're not capturing any data. And if anyone's coming to your website because you're into physiotherapy, what do you think they're half interested in? Physiotherapy. They've got a bad back or whatever it might be. So therefore, why would you want to capture who are you? Another telling tale is bounce rates. Who's familiar with the bounce rate of their website at the moment? Again, not enough, okay? So therefore you have to get into Google Analytics, and if you don't want to do it yourself, get someone who's working with you do it, also your IT person, because the bounce rate of your website, of course, is the percentage of people who actually come to your website and then bounce before they go to another page. And if your bounce rate is, 30%, 35%, that's fine, because people go shopping on the internet, you'd expect that. But if your bounce rate is sitting at 60 or 70 or 80%, that means you are boring them shitless. Okay, they've come onto your website and you are the ugly, boring accountant at the school dance, not school dance, I wouldn't mean accountant, at the dance who nobody wants to talk to, okay? You're in the corner by yourself because you've just bored them to death with your homepage. So, and I've seen all your homepages, there's a very good chance you've got a high bounce rate, okay? So therefore your homepage has to have a number of different components, and I'll go through those, and if you put them into your homepage, just watch what happens to your bounce rate. It'll come down and down and down because they will see you as being half interesting. All of this makes sense?
Yep.
Is there anyone in here so far I have not insulted? No? Good. Okay. Terrific. I can imagine people say to me, your thing's good. It's sort of the opposite to Anthony Robbins. We come in all pumped up and we leave like, we've got a shit website. We're gonna... Okay. Right, so this is it. This is all about flipping that model, okay? So how to get them to taste your product so you fall in love with the brand. And the best example of that was a fish shop. And the fish shop is deciding that he'll get his brand out there and get them to fall in love with it because he'll sponsor the local little under-12 netball team. And on the girls' backs, he's going to have, Fred's Fish Shop and phone whatever, or website, whatever it might be, right? No, I haven't seen any parents in all the years that we went to the kids, games and what have you, sitting with a pen on the sideline going, I think we get some seafood tonight. What's the back of that number? Number 3, could you just close? Sure. Yep, hang on, I'll get the... It just doesn't work. That's stupid, okay? Whereas what he should be doing is not getting them to fall in love with his brand first up, but rather handing out calamari samples at lunchtime and dinner time with the little boy or girl in the right uniform, and they're handing out calamari samples. They taste it, and then they come into the fish shop to hopefully fall in love with the brand, okay? So just flip that model entirely. If I had a coffee shop, I would not be bloody doing what most of them do, sit there like that. I'd be actually handing out little shot glasses of coffee outside at lunchtime and dinner time, so people have a taste for it and go, oh, that's the best coffee I've ever had. I wouldn't be doing that if I was Starbucks. I'm not real flat, or Gloria Jeans. Gloria Jeans have got it right with the ambience, the brown, the tans, the little lounge suite, the fireplace. Just shit coffee, isn't it? That's sort of, yeah. In my opinion, if anyone's watching from Gloria Jeans on Facebook Live, in my opinion, I'm entitled to an opinion. Don't go trying to sue me. Okay, I ended up going to this company when I was young, and I became the national guy in their marketing team there. And when I was there, I learnt this repetitive trade thing really quickly, because this is what we used to do. And anybody that's close to my vintage, particularly if it's a lady, will remember these schemes. Where at Woolworths, what we would do is that we'd actually say for every $5 or whatever it was you spend, you get a stamp. You put the stamp on the saver sheet, and you save up so many saver stamps, and then you get this cookware for good prices. Anybody remember those sorts of things? Yeah. We took them from the UK. We didn't dream these things up, but they worked like crazy because they simulated repetitive trade. They got you to come back and back and back. Once you got near the end of that, then you weren't going anywhere else. Then I moved on to do a lot of these things. I had a promotional advertising business here in Sydney. I was probably in my 20s or 30s, and what we did is that we actually put out bingo cards through mass circulations. Stuff that you can do now on Facebook, but at that time we'd put them out through New Idea and TV Week and all that sort of stuff. And what we would do is that we invite these people to actually ring a number to get their daily bingo numbers. Now, a lot of you people would have responded to come to this event because you would have seen a Facebook ad that we put out that said this guy got 812,000 leads for a client in 1 week. Well, this is it. Okay, Current Affair had just run a Prime Minister poll, and they got 38,000 calls in the space of 3 or 4 days. We got 812,000 phone calls in 1 week for this, because you had to ring a 0055 number to actually get your bingo numbers. And that is possible now like you wouldn't believe. It's easier to do now, crazily easier, because of what you can do online, okay? And what would happen, of course, in those bingo games, we'd make sure that everyone in Australia had 3 of the 4 symbols to win the house and land package by the Tuesday. Do you think they're going to ring back on the Wednesday for the next bingo numbers? We were getting 12,000 calls at midnight to 1 a.m. because the numbers would click over to the new day. So it's just, if you know how to do this avalanche marketing, it's just crazy stuff. This is what we did for Channel 9. They wanted to actually increase the ratings of their news, so we did exactly the same thing. Basically, during the news, there was a 30-second ad that came on, and it would come up, and the call routine, instead of being numbers, would be, hey, hey, it's Saturday. And if you had, hey, hey, it's Saturday, you'd scratch it out on your bingo card, and up would come 50 grand or 100 grand, whatever it might be. And then it would say 60 minutes, and you scratch out 60 minutes, and up would come 10 grand or 20 grand. You had to get 3 or 4, whatever it was, of the same symbol to win that money. Do you think we had everyone in Australia by the Wednesday having 3 of the 4 symbols they needed for all sorts of prizes? Absolutely. Channel 9's ratings, to give you an idea how successful that was, went from 21, and to put some perspective on this, the Olympics opening or State of Origin would get a 40, okay, on TV ratings, went from 21 to 44, bang, overnight. They didn't change any newsreader, they didn't change the news, how can you? So there was nothing done except an artificial wow factor. And this is what I want to highlight to you today. You don't need to necessarily change your product or your service, but you need to change your mentality about how you actually market this. And if you don't have something that you think is able to take on your big 40-ton gorilla, your Coca-Cola, then you need to dream up a wow factor. You need to have a Happy Meal toy, okay? And if you don't have one, then you have to start thinking of one. And most of the time, that Happy Meal toy should not be related to your product. I'm going to show you how we just crazily increased the Building Society's home loan portfolio because we gave away a free holiday. And some of you who maybe have been to one of my other things will know that I got Jerry Seinfeld to actually market a particular banking client that I had. And am I milking that? Of course I would, you would too. And so the thing is that before Jerry Seinfeld came along, though, we absolutely smashed their home loan business because we took away the 1% honeymoon rate, which everyone was using. Every damn bank had that, so they weren't anything different. And I just said, well, take that away and put that same 1% into a free holiday and just give them a free holiday. And it just went whooshka, bang. So the most successful campaigns are ones that don't have a reward that's linked to the product. So if Cadbury was smart, instead of putting 20% more on that crunchy bar for a limited time, we're all fat enough anyway, so don't do that, right? Get them to save 10 Crunchy Bar wrappers to get a free movie ticket or something like that. Don't make your value add something that's related to your product. It won't work anywhere. It'll work, don't get me wrong. Ask Sushi Train when they give you their little points and you can come back in and cash your points in for food and all that. I'm not saying it won't work, but it won't work anywhere near as well as if you choose a reward that's unrelated. But when I say unrelated, but it's still attractive to that audience. Okay, so those things. Then I went and took on the rugby league cards. I was lucky enough to be around at the time when Scanlon's bubble gum were getting a little bit tired, and so I took over the license for the football cards. And can you imagine, with my repetitive trade sort of mindset, this was really my product. I'd been doing stuff for McDonald's and Kentucky Fried and all these places, but to fall into something like this where you can get kids hooked into a repetitive spending pattern was just Christmas, absolute Christmas. So what we would do is that I'd walk into the Sunday newspapers and to give you an idea, in one season we took the football card revenue from $2 to $12 million in one season. And the way we did that, and the reason I'm highlighting this, and I think, we've got Sally and a few other people here, Fred, that are already part of my program, and they would know that, when they hang around this environment, it's not mild, it's pretty much wild, okay? We don't live in a... You'll make a lot more money. But I can never do that with lazy people. If people come on board and they sit on their hands, I can't do much about it, okay? But the thing is, in this instance, all we did is we went to the newspapers and gave them millions and millions of football cards. So I'd walk into the Sunday Telegraph and we've got a problem with this damn clicker, would you believe? I'd walk into the Sunday Telegraph and I'd say to them, how would you like 2 million football cards to hand out with the Sunday Telegraph? And they'd go, what? Now, that cost me a cent each for those football cards, all right? And so 2 million was 20 grand. Do you know what they give me? They give me $500,000 worth of TV advertising saying, get your Sunday paper this week for the free Mal Meninga cards, and Andrew Eddinghausen or whoever it was playing at the time, right? And then they'd put me on the front page of the paper. If they didn't find Elvis, guess what? That was, I was outside every news agency. It wasn't like, I remember when we did this at first, George Bush Senior had just bombed Saddam Hussein. That took about that much to the bottom of the front page. All the front page was this: get your free footy cards today in today's paper. So the thing is that when they said to me, well, what do you want for it in return? I'd just go, nothing. I'm Mother Teresa's cousin, and I'm here to help Rupert Murdoch make some more money. I don't think he has enough money. And so they go, wow, okay. And I'd say, look, if you don't want it, I'll go to the Sun Herald. I'm going out the door says, no, come back. Okay, good, I thought you might like that. So I just do that, and that's available right now to you. Newspapers are scared shitless because there's a thing called Facebook and online marketing, and so therefore, do you notice now, you don't get your news from that, you get your news from your phone. Do you notice in the Sunday paper there's more lift outs now for home and garden and real estate and health and beauty and all that sort of stuff? That's why, because they know news doesn't sell papers. So if you have a product that you're able to give them as a freebie for their customers, and obviously these days digital is easy, they will give you a tongue kiss and a man hug, and they will not let you leave that room, all right? So that's what it's all about. But you've got to have a product that's obviously got a wide demographic appeal like this one. So we'd put that out, and then of course what would happen is that there is something really weird with it. The cards just sold out. That's just sold out. So what we'd do is that then we'd run Series 2 cards and Series 3, and we just keep on doing that all the time. So we took it from $2 million to $12 million turnover in just one season. And you can imagine the Rugby League was pretty happy with that, because the football cards were never really one of their top sellers. The things they made money out of up until then were caps and T-shirts and polos. This thing rocketed from number 16 category to number 1, bang, like that. So it's all about wow factor marketing, and it's all about Avalanche, not just getting 10%. So anyway, this one here is a Disney poster. We did exactly the same thing. You can't see it from where you're sitting, but there's little ear-shaped sticker holes there. And what we would do is we put the poster out for free with the newspaper. And you might say, look, what's this got to do with us? It's got everything to do with you, because whilst I'm not expecting you're going to do this, what I want you to do is understand the mousetrap and then get people into repetitive trade. And so this poster, the one you see up on the screen there, went out like this, okay, to 500,000 people, okay, and then the sticker spaces ran around the outside. Guess what we did just to tease the shit out of mum and dad when they got the paper? We gave the first 2 of 100 stickers for free. So the little kids would put sticker number 61 here and sticker number 92 down there and then scream out to mum and dad, I want more stickers. Yes, evil, Dr. Evil. And so therefore what would happen is that mum and dad had to buy the daily paper for the next 4 weeks, clip the coupon and take the coupon with 50 cents to buy my 1 cent sticker. We had quite a bit of margin in that. We made $500,000 in 4 weeks, okay? Don't feel too good for me. I decided to do the Flintstones after this, and we lost the $500,000 in 4 weeks. Flintstones is not really as big as Disney, so therefore if you're into licensing, stick to Disney. But the whole idea is that this was a repetitive trade formula, and that's what you want for your business. Now, please interpret and transfer it. For goodness sake, I don't want you leaving here today going, oh, I'm a physiotherapist, we're going to put out a Disney post. So don't do that, okay? Right, yeah, and that's what the stickers look like. These are the big companies that I've provided all of this sort of stuff to, and this is what we call the credibility build section of the seminar, so therefore you can see some pretty big names there that paid me. Wow. Thank you very much. Christian, who's our sound guy down the back. Christian, can you give a wave, if you don't mind? And when he actually is proactive like that, we give him 2 bowls of rice. So therefore... by the way, Christian, security just came and spoke to us. Your rickshaw is in a no parking zone just outside, if you could. By the way, with all this sledging backwards and forwards, there's every chance in the world that the sound will go off any minute. That's funny because sometimes I have to explain. Yeah. I have to explain to people at the morning tea break, we're great mates, all right? It's just that guys don't talk nice to each other. That's the way it is, right? Okay, so therefore I wanted to just show you the companies that have paid a few dollars for this sort of stuff, and then there's some others, I think, if we can just get that. Yeah, okay, so enough of the showing off. Right out. Now, the stuff I'm just about to show you, you might say, okay, that's great, and I've seen a lot of examples, and this is not you saying it now, but let's say around about lunchtime when I'm showing you how you can become part of this, you might say, oh, but will it work for me because my business is different? No, it's not. I have a funeral parlour in Washington that's on my program, okay? And he's a big black American guy, and I did a couple of these things over in Santa Monica, and he came up and he said, I'm going to put your wow factor to the test, we're a funeral parlour. And I went, okay, fair enough. And I said, have you been to Australia? He said, I've been to Australia a lot. I said, well, okay, well, I've got an idea for you. In Australia, we have a loyalty program called Flybys. He goes, yeah, I know about that. Every time I came out of the supermarket, they asked me to want yeah. Well, what we're going to do is introduce for your funeral business, die-bys. And what we will do there, you can imagine this guy's he makes Mel Meninga look like a dwarf, right? He's huge. And I thought, I hope he knows this is a joke, but he goes, die-by. So yeah. So what happens when somebody passes away in your family or friends, what have you, you book them into you guys and you get a die-by point and you save them up for free headstones for the future. So, and he's got his finger, then he goes, I don't know about, mate, I'm joking. Yeah. Okay, so what I don't want you to do at the break is actually just say to me, oh, but we're different, because you're not different. This thing will work for anyone. We've been across A to Z. I think I haven't done a zoo, but pretty much everything between A and Z. And they're all the industries that we've done it for. This is working by itself. I don't know whether you know that, but I'm just talking. Yeah. Okay, so therefore they're all sorts of industries. And look, if you are a business coach, anybody in here that might be a business coach today, okay, business coaches normally come from an accountancy background. Okay, it's when they just want to maybe branch out, and so therefore in a business coach instance, I think what you'll find here and what you'd find in our program is pretty handy, because a lot of business coaches, I've had Action Coaches, for example, which is the biggest coaching business in the world, actually come into my program, and the reason is they're very, very good on the operational side of things. They can teach people how to save on tax and how to keep their overheads down and how to motivate staff and all of that, but most of the time they're not really big on the right brain side of things. They're not good on the creative and the marketing. So if you're a business coach, then you'll find that my program will be handy for you, because you just pinch all my stuff and then just make it your own. That's all. I don't care. I mean, once you're paying me, you do what you like with it. In fact, I remember Freddie Fajardo, lovely guy, he was the marketing manager of Parramatta Leagues, and I was looking after them for, as I said, about 10 years. He used to ring Gail, my wife, up, because I do all of his board reports, I do everything for him. They were a private coaching client, and they paid, I don't know, we're getting paid 10 or 11 grand a month for that. And he rang up Gail once and he said, could you give me JD's life insurance policy? And she said, why? He said, because I want to pay it, because if he dies, I'm in deep shit, right? so I just want to pay, I do the right thing. Okay. So if you're a business coach, just steal it and run with it. Okay, so therefore, all of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, figure that. This is the system. First, it's a 5-step system, and I say that to you because I don't want to scare you shitless, because I've been where you've been. I'm sitting in a room, and the know-all up the front says, I'm going to show you my 29-point system. And you go, stab me through the eye with a pencil, please. I do not want to sit here for 29 points. So we're making it really, really easy. It's just a little pizza pie. The only thing I could ask, if you don't mind, I'll let you take a photo of this system at the end of it, because then you can just take a photo of the pie. But just throughout the rest of the day, if you don't mind, I'd rather no photos or video. And there's a good reason for that, and that is because I am a bit cheeky, and I am going to bag out probably every possible business you could ever think of. I really don't want that up on Facebook and other places, because it happens from time to time, and then I get these legal letters, and it just get all messy. I haven't had any legal letters, but it's just a precaution. So I'll let you take a photo of this. Just wait until we get to the full circle, and then get your camera out and take a photo or your phone out. So who is your target audience? It's not about your target audience so much, it's about your most profitable target audience. So what you've got to do is determine is your most profitable target audience for your nightclub, basically 25s through to 40s who actually are white collar. They're earning $100,000 a year. They've got money, which means you can charge $10 for your Corona. And if that's the case, then that's your most profitable audience. Your secondary audience after that might be 18s through to 25s who have just come out of uni. I don't know. But the fact is that once you've identified your most profitable audience, you just look for more people who look like them. Okay, really easy. Number 2 on the wheel of wow is just create a wow factor to take their eyes off the price. And already I've covered that. Just take their eyes off the price and develop your own Happy Meal toy. Okay. Number 3, and again, I'll let you photograph the whole lot of this in 2 seconds. Use problem solution formula. And if you ask me who does that very well, Jenny Craig. Jenny Craig will say you're overweight and you don't feel healthy, and you don't feel good about yourself, well, come on my dietary program and look like Miranda Kerr within 4 weeks. Okay, so problem, solution. Panadol do it really well. They realise that we're not interested in what's in the tablet anymore, whether it be paracetamol or codeine, we don't really much care. We just want that headache gone in 10 minutes. So now they'll actually show a little clock, and they'll show the lady taking the tablet, and she's not looking real healthy, she's not looking real good. At the moment she takes the tablet, guess what? Within 10 minutes when the little clock goes around, she's got lippy, blush, and she's gone from a 4 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10 to a 9.9. She's got the push-up bra, she's got everything happening, These Panadols are incredible these days, right? And then number 4, this is really, really important. Not that the others aren't, but really your director of first impressions is your website. And I'm just being nice here by saying be different online. Really what I'm saying is fix your shit website. That's what I'm saying, okay? So when I say be different online, make sure that you just fix your website. And the most important page of your website is? The home page. What do you think the most important page of the Woman's Weekly is? The front page, okay? So the most important page on your website is your home page. Forget about putting any effort into any of your sub-pages until you fix that, because if you've got an ugly baby, you've got to fix it. And the next one is be conscious of repetitive trade, and that's really it. So grab your phones out if you want to take a photo of that, because it's nice and easy, but I just would ask if you don't take photos thereafter. Any questions with regards to that whilst we leave it up so everyone's get their phones out? So is there any questions that anyone has with any component of that or anything that I've said so far? The good thing for you guys is that I know everything. And if there's any relationship problems, give those to me as well. Sorry, Michael. Yeah, and Michael, just wait for the microphone. If we can just grab the microphone, if you don't mind. Just down the front. You wouldn't believe the first 2 questions that we get, of course, from the front row.
Yeah, that's right.
Where the microphone is easy to get down the back. No, just hand that to Michael. Yeah, Michael.
Jay, the question I've got, the problem we talked about this morning was the target audience, how to get it down to that small number. When I see that my product helps so many very different
age groups
of people.
Yep.
Age people.
And just to explain to everyone, what's your product?
Product is a flexibility bench that I designed, a strength flexibility bench for from people with lower back pain, aged care, athletes, of course, fitness and recovery, rehabilitation, physio. The
question I'd ask Michael, if he's got a broad target audience, and I know how difficult that can be. I looked after for Kerry Packer Woman's Day magazine for quite some time as a consultant, and that's a tough one. Okay, because 25% of their audience, we're battling out there. There's a big crowd, is there? Because it's noisy. Yeah. So 25% of their audience are under 30, 25% are 30 to 45, 25% are 45 to 65, and 25% are in God's waiting room. So the thing is that I have a really, the only thing that we could put on the front cover to get that whole audience was Princess Di. And unfortunately, when Princess Di passed away, of course, tragically, the magazine industry right around the world suffered. And that sounds ridiculous to even be talking about that when a tragedy like that happens. But the fact is that the royal family will capture all of those age groups. So we were putting then, George Clooney or Jennifer Aniston or whatever we could put on the front cover, not working. Nowhere near like the royal family. So you can imagine the magazine industry is really happy these days because, the royal family with babies and weddings and all that coming back into it. So I understand the problem that Michael has. I've sort of got the same issue in the sense that this stuff, as I've said to you before, will work for anyone. But what do you think I try and get into this room more so than anyone else? I try and get businesses in the room that are white collar. Okay, and the reason I try and get white collar in is not because I can help them any better. I can help a plumber and a truck driver, an electrician, a builder. I can help them just as much. It's just that they're going to see me as a wanker with a sports jacket on, because they're going to be harder to sell to. So would I rather sell to someone that's easy or someone that's hard? Obviously easy, because someone who's an accountant or a lawyer or happens to be a business coach or someone who's actually just in the white collar industry, they're going to see my stuff and go, bang, I want onto that straight away. They're used to feeding their brain. They did a 6-year course at uni. They go to all these things all the time. Whereas if I've got a plumber or electrician in this room, there's every chance in the world they don't go to as many seminars. I can help them just as much, but they're going to go, you know what? He's a wanker because he's wearing a coat. So all I'd say to Michael is that if he has a large audience that goes across there and each one of them equal the same sort of profitability, which is the easiest one to get to? You understand what I'm saying? Who's the easiest? Because you don't want to work hard to make money if you can. I mean, we've all worked hard. Don't be silly. I'm not one of those seminar speakers that say, dream it and you can do it. But the thing is, we all work hard, but you want to work as least hard as you can. So in that broad spectrum, who could buy your table, who would be the easiest to flog it to? What age group? And male or female?
Probably male.
Male? Okay. Because of sporting injuries, they're playing more aggressive sports?
The baby boomer age, we're getting stiff and sore.
Okay, baby boomers, good. Okay, well what Michael's saying there, my generation, the baby boom generation are starting to get aches and pains and they got money. That's the good part about it, is that the baby boomers have got money, unless they've been like us and you gave it to your 6 Gen Y kids. But anyway, they got money. And so therefore what Michael would be doing is that in his Facebook advertising, he would be showing imagery or video in his Facebook advertising of people my vintage who are saying, I had a bad back. I can't believe. Now remember, problem solution. I'm sure Michael uses this anyway, but he's just built for it like Jenny Craig is. I had a bad back and I've had that bad back for 16 years. I can't believe it. I think it was just too much sex in my younger years. I think that's what it had. Whereas these days I say to my wife, who can put a hand up, Gail, just in the back there with a white top on, I only said to Gail this morning, I think sex would be so much more enjoyable if only I had a partner. But in that instance, you would say, yeah, look, it's catching up with me. I played all these sports and this, that, and the other. I went and saw Michael at Blum, whatever business he is, and now I can do the 4-minute mile. It's incredible. I don't have any aches or pains. This guy is David freaking Copperfield. Now you have something like shit to gold story like that, which is what we call shit to gold, and shut the gate. His phone will ring off the hook. Okay, and I don't know whether you do that at the moment. Do you do that at all? Do you do?
I do have testimonials that people would use it, but not to that.
Okay, but are they video or are they written?
They're video, but they're not the age group.
Okay. See, there, just in that little exercise, I've demonstrated how valuable this environment can be, because within 2 seconds we're saying, okay, well, the easiest person to sell to, not necessarily the most profitable, because you get, basically, same profit out of everyone, but the easiest person to sell to is going to be a baby boomer and more than likely a man. That doesn't mean that we're going to discount everyone else. It's just that we're going to feature that on a lot of our advertising, and we're going to feature the story of before and after. Okay, thanks, Michael. Good. Come on. Okay, so therefore that's the system, and what I thought I'd do is just go through with you each of those 5 components. Is that all right with everyone? Yep. You see, that's not really showing any love whatsoever. Now Michael's picked up the act there because he's just got some personal one-on-one. Yeah, with that. The rest of you are sitting there. What time is morning tea? Or are we going to be doing any? Or are we going to be doing any star jumps? Because that's what we do at all the other seminars. By the way, there will be. I should. Yeah. Okay. I have to do it. I signed a form when I got into the seminar business that you have to do certain things. And although I'm anti-seminar, I have to get you to do this. It's written into the Articles of Association. You've been there. You've all been there, haven't you? Where there's lots of hugs and there's all that stuff, conga lines. And could you just turn to the person, actually, if you don't mind, to the right of you? If you don't have someone, just pretend you have, to the right of you, and put your hand on their shoulder. I forgot, we had to do this at the beginning. So Phil, you just put your hand on Michael's shoulder. So if you could do that, and if you could just look them in the eye and repeat after me, but you have to look them in the eye and repeat after me. Okay, and that is, and please, we've got to stick with this, otherwise I'm going to be barred from seminar speaking. Can you look at that person in the eye and just say, that'll be the last time I'm touching you today. There will be no hugging, there'll be no kissing, there'll be no massaging, there'll be no star jumps, and there will be no conga line. Okay? This is the opposite from every other seminar you've been to. Okay. Righto, so therefore the first component is who's your target audience, look for more people who look like them, and 80%, 20%, I won't bother doing that, you've seen all that. Parramatta Leagues, I've mentioned to you the fact that we were looking pretty much for Asians and Arabs to come into that club because of the poker machines. And one of the things that I remember Dennis Fitzgerald used to say to me, we're not selling many baked dinners anymore from the Park View Cafe. And I said, right, there could be a good reason for that. I have not seen a white man in here for years, you know. I don't know why you would be having the Parkview Cafe and not a Chinese restaurant. That would make more sense to me. They didn't have this, by the way. So I'd be in meeting after meeting and I'd say to them, have you seen anyone in here remotely that looks like me? No, okay. We've got to cater for the most profitable target audience, which happens to be people from Arab countries and people from Asia. That's just the way it is. They're gamblers. They would go to a club. I've never played poker machines for years, wouldn't interest me, but that's who we want in the club, the most profitable audience. So I eventually convinced them to put this in. By the way, I've got to tell you this, I said, why did you call the Parkview Cafe, for anyone my vintage, was like a Coles cafeteria, it was pretty ordinary, right? And I said to them, you'd line up with your little tray and you'd go along, or you would go along, you know, and then you'd pay your little thing to the cash register lady and, you know, you'd sit down and that's it. And I said, why did it get called the Parkview Cafe? Because I couldn't see any park. There was no park anywhere near. And they said, well, the car park is just out there. So I said, why didn't you just call it car park cafe? They said, we didn't think that would sound good. You reckon? Yeah. Okay, the toilet cafe. Why? Oh, of course, it's just near the toilet. So when we talked them into doing this, which was a Chinese restaurant, they got one of the best Chinese restaurant guys in town, and it just went nuts, of course. And it's one of those things that you think to yourself, well, why wasn't that thought of beforehand? But maybe they were suffering from ticketitis, you know. And then again, I often say we aren't that smart. I mean, I don't think us humans, we're that smart. I reckon the monkeys are smarter than us, not the pop group, but the actual monkeys, because guess what? We put man on the moon in 1969. Do you know it took 20 years later, 1989, to put wheels on luggage? What were we smoking for 20 years? We got a guy that flew through space and he's landing on the moon in one small step, and we were still dragging our luggage around the airport like this. And then we aren't that smart. It's only in the last 2 or 3 years that we put red and green lights in the Westfield car park. Remember, up until then we've been chasing that little old lady around the car park waiting for her to leave? I don't think we're that smart. Okay, so that was what we would do at Parramatta. There's a thing called geodemographic profiling. Notice I'm using as many big words as I can. We in Australia are broken up into 11 segments, 11 geodemographic segments. So for example, in southern suburbs here in Sydney, if you live there, you would be called the Maccas and Little Tackers. If you were over in Balmoral or Mossman, you'd be called the Champagne and Chardonnay set. If you were in Blacktown, you would be called the V8s and Videos, okay? So therefore, they've broken us up into all these gorgeously named little segments, and they've done that courtesy of the census data. So every 4 or 5 years we fill in the census data. The government tells us that that is absolutely private, so put every detail in there about ourselves and our lives, and no one will ever get it, and that's bullshit because they give that to me, okay? And they give it to people like me. And what we do is we use that data to be able to predict where we should be marketing our products and services. So don't take any notice of Victoria or New South Wales, just pretend that was Parramatta. We're put into this program. We only want Asian people aged between 25 and 55 who are making an income of this, that and the other, blah, 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 blah. We press the button and it will light up streets where 70% of my target audience live. So it's never going to eliminate wastage totally, but it means that we'll be putting our letterbox brochures into streets that have got a large predominance of our audience. This is the offline world version of Facebook's laser targeting. So you, who's familiar with lookalike audiences on Facebook? Okay, well what that means is that if your audience happens to be, let's say in Michael's instance, and he wants to advertise on Facebook, if he wants to capture baby boomers, particularly men, and those men have played sport quite aggressively throughout the years, and they earn a certain income because his table is not cheap, then he just plugs all of that detail in, provides it to Facebook's algorithm, and then his ad chasing baby boomers only appears in front of baby boomers who've got that income and basically all those traits. So once he's worked out the traits of his target audience, give that to Facebook and they'll put your ad in front of those people. It is insane. It's nuts. In the old days, he would have had to put an ad in the paper and just hope that someone had a bad back who was male and earned that sort of money, read the paper. Now he can make sure his ad only comes up in front of those people. Like, it is insane. Okay, so therefore that's the offline version of how Facebook works. So that's called geodemographic profiling. And by the way, you don't have to pay for that. I used to pay a company called Pan... what was it? Yeah, no, not Salmat. It was some other Pan Pacific Micro Marketing or something. Tens and tens of thousands of dollars for this stuff. But now, if you go through one of the two big letterbox companies, they'll give you this pretty much as part of the deal. And those two letterbox companies are called Salmat, S-A-L-M-A-T, and the other one is called PMP Distribution, PMP Distribution. Now, I know you might be sitting there thinking, oh, letterbox drops are old hat. We would never do that anymore. If you're a bricks and mortar business, it's not old hat. Okay, and you might care to even think outside the square and not put them in the letterbox. You might decide to put them under the door. Yeah, it's illegal in New South Wales to put door hangers on, but it's not illegal to put brochures under the door, would you believe it? I don't know what the go is there. But you can probably get airtasker.com. So airtasker.com, a company that basically provides you with people to do anything you want, and you can get pensioners or uni students to actually put your leaflets under the door. Anybody here still in a bricks and mortar business, not still in, anybody in a bricks and mortar business whereby you would probably consider letterbox brochure style stuff? Okay, so you would be a retail store, a hairdresser, a restaurant, a cafe, something like that. Okay. By the way, if I was asked these days where I'd be placing most of my emphasis, unless you were, a business that has an age group audience of over 70 maybe, and you are a retail business, I'd be saying that all of you have to give more focus to online. Okay, and obviously, who's using Google AdWords at the moment? Okay, and who's noticed that the prices per click have really crept up quite considerably to the stage where it's almost impossible for a small business to use it like they used to, because what you used to pay 50 cents or $1 per click, you might be paying $5, $10, $15, $50 these days. Guess what? Facebook and Instagram are still affordable. You see, don't wait until another 3 or 4 years' time when Facebook has crept their prices up and they become another Google AdWords on a pay-per-click basis. You've got a honeymoon period at the moment, and whilst you might think it might be expensive at the moment, you wait to see what's going to happen over the years to come. So get in now, and if you're going to get in now, make sure you get in. We've got a reverberation thing here, mate. Yeah. Make sure you get in with... if you're going to get in now and make the most of it over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years before the prices go up, make sure you've got the right creative and you've got the right tactics. And I know someone who can probably point you in that direction. I'll talk to you about that later. Okay, I want to show you in terms of message to market match, which is, finding the right audience. This happens to be a lady on the Gold Coast, lives in Sanctuary Cove. She's a lovely lady. She's a client of ours a few years ago, and now she's come back again. She owns a business called Pelvic Floor Assist. And what it is for ladies who might have an incontinence issue. She gives them a product where they put where, and it fixes their incontinence issue within 7 to 10 days. It's miraculous. It's incredible, right? And she charges $49 for it. She gets it in from Germany for about half that price, and she doubles the price, fair enough, and it fixes your incontinence within like 7 to 10 days. Who thinks that if they were a lady with incontinence, that price would be an issue? If I could fix your problem within 7 or 10 days and stop you from wetting your pants 4 or 5 days, do you think price would be out the window? Yeah. Of course it would. So when she joined the program, we doubled her turnover pretty quickly, because what do you think I said to her? Double your price? You're not in the Billabong business with T-shirts and polos and you've got to combat the cheap one down the road. You're in the business of providing a David Copperfield, like Michael, solution. So if you're in the solutions business and you're David Copperfield and you can prove that you do it fast, then price goes out the window. I'm not suggesting for a moment you should rip people off, but she could actually double her price and double her income without my help. I mean, even if she did nothing else, it was worth her joining the program for that. So what we did is that we looked at her website, and she had an older lady on a video there. Let's call her Esme. By the way, if you are thinking about joining the program, we do have a couple of conditions, and you'll hear this before, when I do the explanation of that at just before lunchtime. We don't take short people. They scare me. They're sort of like carnies, and you just don't want to hang around those. So therefore, that's one. And we don't take anybody. Philip's just getting. I'll tell you a joke. And then we don't take any Esmes or Beryls or Daphnes. And the reason for that is, have you ever seen an interesting Beryl, Daphne, or Esme? So therefore, that's the prerequisite. And as Phil was just about to get up, then we had one guy. Phil, we had one guy come up at lunch. Yeah, we had one guy come up at lunchtime last week on the Gold Coast. He goes, "JD, you've got a real problem." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Mate, I want to join the program, but he said my wife's 5'2", and I went, "Oh, maybe we could make an exception, And he said, "No, you can't. Her name's Esme." So anyway, we've got Esme there. She used to come on the video and she'd go, "Oh, look, my name's Esme and I'm 70-something years of age, and unfortunately I've been wetting my pants for the last 5 years, and I've got onto this product and it's fantastic, it's miraculous, blah, blah, blah." Now that's great. That's exactly what you want on the homepage of the website. Now, by the way, Pelvic Floor Assist, you'll see at the very top, is the name of the business. I thought when they came on board they were a builder. I didn't know what a pelvic floor was, and I have ladies on board now who are menopause experts and this, that, and that. Could I just ask, if you're interested in coming, could you just be a butcher, a baker, accountant? I know way too much about women's issues at the moment. But anyway, in this instance here, I said to her, "Are you sure that Esme's, the 65 pluses, are your audience?" And she said, "Well, yeah, they are." I said, "Let's do some research." So we did some research through the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Okay, guess what? There are a stack of ladies in their 30s and particularly 40s and 50s who've had 2 or 3 children and their pelvic floor is not what it used to be. And so therefore they're suffering from this issue. So guess what we did? We changed the entire advertising completely and created a website that actually had younger women. And that video you see there, I'll play a little bit of it for you in a moment. It's a doodle video. You know the whiteboard animation doodle fast drawing video? Why do you think we did that? A, because on Facebook it was more engaging than Esme. And number 2, the fact is that you try getting women to give you a testimonial that they used to wet their pants. It's not that easy, okay? Hello, I used to wet my pants. So therefore, you'll see as we scroll down this page, this is going down the home page, we break them up into a Macca's menu board because we know we have women, a bit like what Michael has, of different ages, and I'd suggest that Michael does this for his home page, is create a Macca's menu board. Because do you think I'm going to talk to an 18, 30-year-old different to a 41 to 50-year-old with the same problem? Of course. If I say wicked sick to these people up here, they think I'm wicked and sick, okay? So therefore, you've got to make sure that you've got a message to market match. And if you were an accountant, I would suggest on your homepage, you'd have a Macca's menu board, which would say, are you interested in tax minimisation, wealth creation, self-managed super, blah, 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 whatever it might be. Because that means is that when people come onto my website, they can self-select from that Macca's menu board what they want to talk to you about. And when they click that button, they'd go through to a landing page that talks about self-managed super or whatever it might be, and you talk in that language. And that's what I do for my website. If you go to the Institute of WOW, you'll see that on my website I'll say, are you a startup? Are you a business that's established but its sales are flatline? Are you a franchisor? Are you a franchisee? Are you an online? Are you an offline? And the reason I get you to click that button is because when you go through to a sub-page, I'm going to have a video talking to you in that language. If I have a startup that clicks the button, do you think I'm going to be talking to them about KPIs? They'll think I'm talking about a new chicken chain. So therefore, what I've got to do is make sure that I segment that audience into the segments that I'm going to speak to them in that language. Make sense? Okay. Who does that at the moment? Who has a Macca's menu board on their homepage at the moment? Okay, right. Well, if you are a business that has multiple audiences like Michael, or you have multiple products, then you need to consider a Macca's menu board. And as you come down on this particular web page, we show them what the product looks like. That's what it is. I'm not sure what the 2-1 is. It must be ladies in the circus. I don't know. I don't know what that is. But anyway. And then as we come down, this clicker got real problems. It's just not working. As we come down, free report. Why do we have a free report? The free report is to capture data. Now, if you're wetting your pants and you get a free report that says how you can fix it in 7 days, I think there's a good chance you're going to download that free report. And then as we scroll down the page, we give the 3 big... We'll give 3 or 5, odd number, okay? Don't ask me why, but that works. And then we have a couple of testimonials. Now, these are actresses, okay, because of the problem we had. These are actresses, and we do put an asterisk that says that they are actresses. Do you think anyone reads the asterisk? No, but you have to do that. And by the way, we reveal the elephant in the room. We say the reason we've done this is that these are real stories. It's just that with the sensitivity of this issue, we find it hard to put people on screen. Now, this is the video that we put onto Facebook, and this is a doodle video, and I'm going to play you after this the owner of the business's comment of what happened when we replaced Esme on Facebook and put this one on. The number of clicks is amazing. I'll just play 30 seconds of what is a 90 seconds.
Our lives are busy and active. We work. Some of us have children. We lead eventful lives, share our joys, and our health is important. But there are health concerns that cause many of us unnecessary stress and anxiety. We are busy and active, so few of us have the time for the symptoms of weak pelvic floor muscles, such as the constant need to go to the bathroom. Yet when women look to treat the problem, the alternatives can appear far from ideal. Not to mention, activating the pelvic floor during floor exercises can sometimes be an issue. And while yoga is great, it doesn't always work for all of us. To support women's pelvic health, Pelvic Floor Assist has arrived to offer women a new, discreet and effective pelvic floor training treatment option, Medical Secret, offered as a single...
Yeah, you're going to have to look at that. No good. Okay, so therefore you've seen enough of it, but you understand the wizardry of that sort of stuff. We get that done in the Philippines these days for, we used to pay $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 for like a 90-second version of that, not so many years ago, but because of the way the world's gone, we're able to get that quality animation done now in the Philippines for about $250 per 60 seconds. So US, $250 for 60 seconds. That one might have gone for 90 seconds, so it's a whole, I don't know, $350, $400. Incredible. Have a listen to the difference that Facebook ad, because that's what it was, that was Facebook ad, right? Have a listen to the difference that made to this lady's business.
We can pick up these contacts and ideas, and the biggest idea I think I received was using a doodle commercial as opposed to a still advert, because my clicks on Facebook went from 4,000 to 95,000 in 2 weeks. And had the most amazing amount of likes on
Okay, so therefore we'll have to get batteries in this. It's not working at all now. So the thing is that she went from 4,000 to 95,000 in the space of 2 weeks. Like, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. I'll give that to you. I'll just get you to change the slides for me if you don't mind, mate. We've got a break for morning tea in a minute. Anyway, okay. So therefore, who would like to go from 4 to 95,000 clicks? Who wouldn't? Okay. Now, the reason that was done is not because she put a doodle video on. Yes, that's a big part of it, because it's engaging and all that sort of stuff, but also because of the creative. It comes down to the creative and the offer. And so therefore what we do on the program that I'll show you about is that we have a Rolodex, and that Rolodex has specific copywriters that do direct response. So what you want is not a copywriter, you want a copywriter that does direct response. Okay? So the real estate game, for example, okay, the real estate game is full of, imposters, okay? Because when you say to them, what do you do for a living, they will say, well, we market homes. Oh, well, good, okay. Well, if I was getting heart surgery, I'd probably ask the doctor, does he have a doctor's sort of qualification? I'm guessing he would. And my car gets fixed at the car mechanic, there's a little sign in a frame down the back of the car mechanic shed that says, I am a qualified car mechanic. Well, if you market homes for a living, obviously you are qualified at marketing. So have you got any marketing qualifications? And you'll hear crickets in the background, okay? And what happens, they do their own copywriting and they do their own advertising, and that's why they sell ghost houses. Have you ever seen anything on Domain or realestate.com or a newspaper or in the front window of the shop that has a human anywhere near it? They sell ghost houses, empty lounge rooms, empty fireplaces, empty tennis courts, empty front yards, empty backyards. No one else has lived there, why would I want to live there, And so the crazy part about it is that we can flip real estate businesses like bang, like that, when I just say to them, what are you doing at the moment? And they go, oh, well, what we're doing is sending out to our farm area, which is what they call the homes around our area, to get listings. We actually send out leaflets to ask would they like a free appraisal, like price check, call it what you like, of their property. And we send 10,000 leaflets out, and what happens is that we might get 20 people say yes, and out of those 20 people that we go into RP data, which is just a software system that gives us an estimate of what the houses are in that area, we might get out of that 20, 2 listings over the next month or 2 or 6. And then I go, well, you're suffering from dickheaditis. why don't you just send out 10,000 appraisals? Because if you get 1 out of 10 but actually end up being a listing, send out 10,000. You won't have to look for homes again for the next 10 years, right? And like nuts, it's called push marketing instead of pull. Because you could send out a cheque and just put it under their door and it says 1.4 million. When they get home that night, all of a sudden they find out their home's worth 1.4 million. There might be a chance that they consider listing at some stage. So it's turning something that's micro into macro. And we've got real estate agents that do that, and whoosh go, like the whole world opens up for them. There is no competition because no one else understands marketing in the real estate game. I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, and if there's real estate people in the room today, it might be. But the crazy part about it, when I say to real estate agents, have you ever sold a home in 30 days? They go, well, yeah, it doesn't happen every day, but we sold one in 27. Good, that's your headline. Your headline in all your advertising, Facebook and otherwise, would be, would you like to sell your home in 27 days? Because guess what? That's what we do. And the moment we do that, I mean, that 812,000 leads that I got for the New Idea magazine in 1 week, do you think I do that every day? Of course I can't. I don't have that particular style client, and I can't, but that's my headline that got you people to come here. How would you like 812,000? So why real estate agents don't say, I sold a home in 27 days, would you like me to do the same for you? I'll never know. And what happens normally when you go to real estate, how long does it take? 94 days at the moment, that's the average. Fantastic. Got hard nipples over that. Okay. Before we move, look, I'll do this quickly before we go. You've got to do events. You've got to do events like this, okay? So therefore what you've got to do is consider whether yours happens to be a lunchtime one or a dinner one, or whether it happens to be a podcast or it happens to be a webinar, consider how you can do this sort of stuff, okay? So in this instance here, this particular guy was the owner of a business called AdFence. And AdFence is a company that produces those big toilet roll signs that go around the fencing of construction sites. And he wasn't getting through to any builders. He just couldn't get them to answer the phone. So I said to him, well, in that case, why don't you have a night at the, oh God, this is a nightmare. Why don't you have a night at the Palazzo Versace for all the Gold Coast builders, this is on the Gold Coast, and use me as the speaker, and we'll milk Seinfeld, I do, so you might as well milk him. And just say, look, how would you like an evening with the guy that works with Jerry Seinfeld? You're going to get marketing tips of how to build your building business. He should have got 50 builders there. He got 17. His secretary was not real sharp, and so therefore they sent out this invitation by email and mail, and she chased a few down, but not enough. But anyway, she got 17 builders with their wives, so that's 34 people. And when the 34 people came, they sat down and had a nice dinner, and I got up and did a mini version of this and showed the builders how they could actually make more money. And then at the end of it, I brought Trond, the owner of the business is called Trond Smith. I brought him up on stage, and when I said, would anybody like to hear Trond, just have a little interview about what AdFence is all about, they pushed him. They wouldn't take his call the day before. Now they're pushing him, get up there, because he pretended that this was a shock. Of course it was planned. He just, oh no, I'm a bit shy. So they pushed him up, and I said to him, Trond, look, we see these big toilet rolls of, sort of signage that go around the fencing from time to time, and, really, what's different from you, from anyone else? He said, well, I got to tell you, I'm a printer, I've got the big machine. He said, whereas most of the other companies that deal in this, they actually just buy the signage from someone else and put their margin on. So I said, the poor buggers out there in the building trade are paying margin on margin. And I said, wow. Now this is not price discounting, this is price comparison. This is Coke Pepsi, right? And I said, okay, well, give me a story. And he said, well, for example, last week, Metricon Homes up in Darwin needed quite a number of homes done. And he said the quotes were $34,000 and $36,000 from other companies. And I said, what did you do it for? He said, $14,900. Now, they rushed the stage like he was Justin Bieber, okay? They didn't, I'm metaphor, but the thing is that then set him apart from every other signage company. I left that night because I did my thing and he stayed around having drinks with them. The cost to put that event on was 17 couples, so that's 17 by 2, for dinner. That's $100 a head, so that's $3,400. He rang me the next morning and said, do you want to know what we took last night? I said, yeah, tell me, because he had a special offer that night, obviously. He took $272,000 in sales that night, and it cost him $3,400. Gets better. That was a Wednesday night, and on the Thursday morning, he rings me, but then he invited me to come to his birthday party, his 40-something birthday party on Friday. So I went along on Friday night to a restaurant in Broadbeach. He said, it gets better still. He said, since the Wednesday night, I've now taken another $120,000. So he said, we're up to $400,000 in sales from a one evening. He said, the significance of that is that represents 15% of last year's turnover in 3 hours. Yeah, and that's what happens, sell once to many. And that's why I'm encouraging you to have a look at what you're seeing today and think about that.
I work in a company called AdFence, and we print shade cloth for construction companies, get on fencing. We started with JD about 3 months ago. Our turnover is probably in this first month of really talking about their promotions, doubled. You just institute the wow factor ideas, and our turnover's doubled in a month. It is that easy. Just from national inquiry, conversion's probably gone from 25-30% to up around 70-80%. That alone has pushed us to capacity. We're in the process of trying to lift capacity so we can take full advantage of it, but it's been massive.
Okay, now just before we go to morning tea, I'll show you one more, and this happens to be a lady in the travel game. So she's in the travel industry, and she has a couple of travel agencies, maybe three travel agencies in Brisbane called Discover Travel. And I convinced her to do the same thing. So that's what she did. She actually held an evening for past clients who fell into a category who would be interested in European cruising. And so she got Scenic Tours, which is a European cruise company, to pay for half the evening. The evening cost us $7,000 to put on at some little flash place in Brisbane. I was the MC. I said that when any clients that come on board my thing asked me would I actually speak for them. It's free of charge. I do it because they're on board. So I went up and did that. And the Scenic Tours lady, who paid for half of the evening, actually put a little 10-minute thing up with the beautiful cruises you can go on throughout Europe, and it was just stunning. Anyway, everyone had a nice night, and this is what happened. Excuse me, nothing happened because I was about to sneeze. Can you just play it? This has gone nuts, mate. So. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, yeah.
We held a VIP night and we invited some of our top clients and we invited them to bring a +1. We had a representative from one of our companies who paid for half the night. By the time we'd actually closed the doors that night, we had $220,000 worth of business, and within the next 2 months we had $500,000 worth of business. The cost was $7,500 and we split that with our suppliers. So for a very small investment, we got a huge return. For a few $1,000s, getting $500,000 in results was absolutely fantastic.
So you can see this sell once to many thing has some legs, okay? And it's really, really straightforward. Tupperware have been doing it for a long while. And so you should think about it. And keep in mind that when you do this, if you do one of these things of an evening, for example, you don't need to give them a full-on dinner. In fact, that's distracting if they're cutting into a steak when you're giving a presentation. So it has to be finger food, not Chico rolls, but, upmarket tapas finger food. And, you can get away with that, maybe $15, $20 a head sometimes. And because then they're not distracted, cutting into a steak when you're doing a presentation. Who would, just having seen a couple of those case studies, and I've got many, many more that have done exactly the same thing, who thinks that they now could run an evening event for their business? Who could do that? Yeah, okay, and you can see the logic in it. Okay, guys, look, I think we're going to break for morning tea. So this break's only a short one because then lunch is not far off anyway. So it's now just on 11:45, and for those who are watching on Facebook Live, all I'd ask is that just come back in 10 minutes' time, make yourself a cuppa at home, and so you guys, there's a lovely little coffee shop downstairs if you want to grab a coffee down there. There's also a building